gun. Umbrella Squad showing us that they are capable of bringing an Umbrella to a gunfight here. Already one game up. Will the variations we talked about happen in the draft phase for game number 2?
Let's find out here. LILGUN going to be taking blue side. As Umbrella Squad takes red, we see Kaja immediately banned out without hesitation.
Yeah, the Kaj is going to be a big problem for assassin-based gameplay, though. So I think LILGUN also banned it earlier. It's something that they might not want to play against because we saw earlier they banned away the Kaja, Mathilda, and Joy. But if they really want to ban that out, are they going to go for an assassin this time in the jungle? Because the Martis is a meta pick, but we've seen that Umbrella Squad, they know how to deal with it.
Yeah, Umbrella Squad has been pretty comfortable dealing with it overall because a majority of their heroes just refuse to give him that decimate for free. And if they do, they make sure they run away and even flicker away in completely opposite areas from the rest of his teammates so he doesn't get the chain kills. Now, the fact that Fanny gets banned out does bring up a couple of questions here. Is Umbrella Squad, are they expecting Umbrella Squad to actually pivot, or is it just because they're on blue side?
I think it's mainly because they already understand that giving an early game lead to Umbrella Squad is a bad idea. This is a team that is going to run at you, so you definitely don't want to give them the hero that flies at you and just takes you out before you have a chance to respond.
Well, for Umbrella Squad right now, banning away the Mathilda, I think they're just worried. What is going to be the first pick for LILGUN? Are they going to try and get more caster supports that can really save, the roamers can really save their carries here from the threat of Troublemaker? Or are they going to go aggressive and maybe go for trying to counter the jungler by being aggressive instead? The Baksha taken away is one small hint at that. I wonder if LILGUN are considering something like a Hilda to really throw a screw in Troublemaker's plans.
I think it's too early to actually go for the Hilda, and I don't think it's worth banning out. So maybe
Yeah.
the Angela is going to be a little bit more inclined to that area. No, instead they get rid of they're like, Castle, we give you our respects, stop it. Stop it, please. The foundations of my house is already crumbling. I need this to end.
Okay, they're gonna go for the hero that gathers them all together. I think that does make sense. There would be teams that might think, oh, the cushion was a big problem, let's get rid of it. But the core of the issue was the fact that their tendency to group up was being punished very heavily by Castle's initiation. So I think getting rid of the Arlet here is a very smart choice.
Okay, which brings us to our final ban coming in from the Umbrella Squad of this very first phase. I mean, Matilda, we can all understand. The Baxia, all right, sure, that makes sense. It's very repressive to deal with. Are we thinking about neutering a lane? Are we thinking about, no, they just straight up get rid of Farmis.
That means Nolan is left open, by the way, so it's a pretty tough choice. They don't really know what exactly is LILGUN going to do because of the flexibility in their hero pools. They can go for the Bruno as well. That was still a big portion, a big part of the issue there. If they focus too much on Troublemaker, there's still a huge Bruno damage power spike in the late game. Now it can be taken by LILGUN so they can have a stronger presence in the gold lane.
Possibly, or they just take Valentina and call it a day. They're like, all right, let's see what you guys got on red side.
There's also things like the Terizla or the Angela. Previously, Terizla had trouble because he was against Arlet. Arlet's gone. Terizla could be pretty safe to engage fights. Angela is still flexible, surprisingly led through the ban phase. We'll see what LILGUN prioritizes here. Has final few seconds count down. Ooh, the Guinevere.
Straight up into Gwen, and this might be the Gwen tank that we saw in the previous game once more. Let's see what Umbrella Squad has to say about this, right? There's a couple of counters that go well, but I feel like at least Guinevere in this particular case is more so an instigator than she is a finisher. Unless, goes for the full magic build, then okay, sure.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. Probably just going to be aggressive, survivable as well in the front with a good amount of sustain that is built into her kit for Umbrella Squad, knowing that there's a threat of a Guinevere from whichever lane right here. Are they going to go for crowd control? Are they going to go for some damage? Because the Guinevere is tanky, you want to try and be a real threat to it. So the Bruno pick that they used in game number 1 can still work out, but they're going to go for the Joy first.
Okay.
The Joy was the 1-1 as well. That's going to be very interesting. Now we have to note, Marl playing on the Guinevere last game was actually kind of a rarity because this is a player that like 80% of the time plays assassins, even in this sort of meta. So heroes like the Joy are much more up his alley, so we'll get to see a lot more of that.
Assuming that it actually goes into the jungle,
True.
right? And that's the same position of this
Whoa.
Guinevere. Now that we
Whoa.
see this, holy cow. Boys, thoughts? Phobias, it's been a while, but here at Wildcards, first Phoveus that we've seen, as well as Nolan. I am happy to see Nolan, of course, but Phoveus, oh, dude, I don't know. He's got so many procs. He's got so many things to take advantage of.
There's the 1-1, there's the Joy as well. It's also a good counter against the Nolan, by the way. I think it was first popularized against the Nolan by AP Bren or Blacklist.
Against
Kind of
AP
hazy
Bren,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was used against it.
All right, so it's a dash heavy, but at the same time, it's a complete counter against the 1-1, right? If she hops too fast, those demonic force jumps aren't gonna do as much damage as you would expect.
Yeah, that is true. I do think that there is a certain level that Phoveus needs to be ahead, and a particular build to really get max value out of it, and more so the animation is just kind of slow. Let's not forget that at the end of the day, if Wan is able to get that crossbow of Tang off, that could change everything if she's full build. We've already seen a potential maniac, potential savage coming in from a Wan before. Maybe this could be the game.
Not to mention that Phoveus as a hero is pretty weak in the early laning phase, and we'd already talked about how Umbrella Squad, all they really need is to win out the lanes, and then the game just falls into their laps. So this is a bit of a risk for LILGUN here. They're gonna really need to snowball onto the Nolan, because if they're not able to, there's not a lot of options left.
I think that the focus goes into the mid lane right here, because if your jungle is that important, right? The Joy and the Guinevere, I think, have a lot of work to do in this matchup. So if the mid lane or the roamer is a bit stronger for one side, it's going to tip the favor in balance of one of these heroes. Both Guinevere and Joy can be very troublesome once they really get that support to go into your opposing side's jungle, try and just wreak havoc there.
Yeah, now we see the next couple of bans start to go through the Bruno, makes sense. And we also do get to see the Franco as well, which I think is a really smart ban coming in from LILGUN, right? All of them are susceptible to suppression, but worse yet, if you get pulled out of position by that iron hook, you don't have a lot of tools to actually, get out if two other people are sitting by the Franco when that hook connects. And let's not forget, I'm guessing, oh wait, no, they've already done it for me. Get rid of that Kufra.
I was thinking that as well. This is a hero that would be a menace to honestly either team right now, because there's actually quite a good bit of dashing on either side. So the heroes that they're banning here are actually also affecting them. And with neither side's roamer being picked up yet, I'm very curious to see how this is going to affect the pool.
One more ban coming in from LILGUN. Is it going to be yet another roamer ban? Because I feel like the mid lane is something they want to try and consider as well here. Of course, it depends, right? Do they want to go for wave clear, some more damage as well? Because I think for LILGUN, a bit more burst damage would be preferable here with the Guinevere. Because you can lift someone up with the Violet Requiem, and then what? Unless you go full damage, it won't really one-shot anyone.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in that sense, right? You're expecting something to have a lot of damage to make sure that you get over that line, or at least be worthwhile, so that Umbrella Squad can actually start to look for engages and you can kind of read into it. Now that the Minotaur is gone, we move on to the second phase here. First pick of the second phase, going over to Umbrella Squad.
What are they going to be looking for right now? We do know that the roam and mid lane, unless the Joy is flexed in that direction, are going to be what Umbrella Squad wants. And if they really want to keep Troublemaker as the main playmaker for their team, they'll probably want to keep that mid pick until the very end. But you also cannot argue the importance of a roam hero in the current meta.
Ooh, it is going to be a Hilda. I thought LILGUN was going to pick it up against Umbrella Squad. But now that there's a Nolan on their side, it's going to be a Hilda. They also lacked a bit of tankiness right there. So Terizla and Hilda, these are very annoying heroes. And that's might be why they banned the Baksha as well, right? A lot of regeneration here could have been negated by that pick.
It could have been like an extremely bad matchup. And I don't know, maybe LILGUN might go for something a little cheesy, be like, you know what, Valir is the way to go here. We're going to have a Valir roam to match this Hilda. She goes in, I just go lock her down for a short period of time and give that pressure back to my jungler.
But what if this is a Gwyn roam, though?
That's still a
then
possibility.
it's a mid-lane Valir.
Like, the thing about Valir is that he's so vulnerable to the Joy, right? It's like, yes, he can CC it, but he's generally very squishy. Like, things like the Diroth against tanky heroes do make sense, but... Ooh!
All right.
Interesting.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
Novaria, I think it's underrated to try and back up your jungler. Good wave clear and a lot of burst damage, especially in the early game. Because even with only one spell, those two spells, the Astral Meteor and the Astral Sphere, actually does a deceptive amount of damage, and you can kind of get more value, because unlike other spells, it's strong, but there's outplay potential. So if you can actually land the whole thing, the full duration of the Astral Meteor, or get a full distance Astral Sphere, it's going to be a huge burst damage potential that his team can try and use to try and get snowballing in the early game.
Well, the way that I think about it is that, at least with Novaria, especially if we're talking about the early game, right, is able to clear out the waves unless somebody tanks the initial initial Astral Meteor, or unless if level 1 you decide to go for the Astral Sphere, that works too. But man, oh man, too busy with my Hilda means you can't invade me when I am on Leomord.
Wait, hang on. What is going on? Where is the Joy gonna go? Is this a mid-Joy?
I think it might just be a mid-Joy.
We haven't seen a mid-Joy since, I believe, the previous IESF, where the one in Bali. Like 2 IESFs ago.
That was 2 IESFs ago. We
haven't seen it since then. I believe that's where the Joy was so broken, it can go everywhere. But now it's back, hang on, yeah, in the mid lane with a Vengeance as well.
Yep.
Against a Novaria. Dude, Assassins in the mid lane, it's not a foreign concept. We've seen it before. If they can execute this, this might just shift some meta picks over, man.
I don't know. It might just turn the hearts and minds of the right people.
Will Troublemaker, with the epitome of a troublemaker hero, be able to destroy the hopes of Team LILGUN in a clean sweep? Or will the Mongolian representatives show us what they're truly capable of as we return to the land of dawn for game number 2?
All right, let us begin. It's going to be LILGUN on the blue side with Umbrella Squad on the red side. And of course, Zora is going to be starting down on the bottom side towards the gold lane of the map just to get a little bit of a leash from Beatrix. And more importantly, just to kind of stay safe from Hilda with a laner that is strong enough to kind of hold her own.
Whoa, 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 hang on. The Hilda isn't invading, it was leashing, helping Mark clear for a faster jungle clear. That is interesting. Now they're moving together, trying to contest the Litho. That's a strategy we haven't seen so far. Usually the Hilda just sticks to the opposing side's jungler, but that's not the case now.
Yeah, I think, again, it's recognition of, like, as soon as this Nolan gets this purple, it becomes difficult to kind of run him down with these rifts being slowing you down before they are connected together and procced.
Yeah, but it's a very smart choice by Umbrella Squad here, understanding that the Nolan is going to clear very quickly. So, and invade is likely not going to be possible with that Roam Guinevere, so go for the quick clear instead.
With an advantage, what are they going to do? They have control right here. Superior wave clear as well. In the mid lane, it's so bit difficult because if Forbid uses all his spells, then he's vulnerable to just getting maybe even solo killed by Troublemaker. And we've seen what he can do once he gets snowballing.
Yeah. I mean, Troublemaker would technically be like the quote-unquote the easiest one to gank, but honestly, he's pretty slippery too, right? And this is great for Isaac because that means the mid lane isn't rotating that much and you don't have to worry about that angle when it comes to a gank, but I think it'll be important for him to hit 4 sooner rather than later.
Well, the level 4 power spike, I feel like at this point, will favor Umbrella Squad a bit, especially if they can really get their hands onto the back line. Because in a full front-to-front clash, having more fighters in the early game generally gives you more of an advantage. You can tank more damage, deal some more damage as well, and we're seeing a bit of it right here.
Ooh, the flicker penalty zone onto Ethan forces the flicker out. Marl secures the turtle easily, and Zexora is picked off. Troublemaker with the first blood, but he gets punished himself. Vengeance not gonna save him from the hands of Ethan.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. Zexora was actually really close to taking that away from Marl, but at the end of the day, it's all about those timings. Now, let's have a look at the emblems here and see whether or not there's anything interesting or to keep it in mind, because now that at least for Joy, taking adaptive penetration, sorry, the rupture, as well as the arm, as well as the, it's not coming to me right now. It is
The Weapon Master?
Weapon Master, that's the
Weapon
one.
Mastery.
I was like, Weapon Mastery? I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. With the Weapon Master, she's going to do a lot of damage, right? It's guaranteed that she is going to hurt, but worse yet, having this Vengeance makes it even tougher.
Ethan's actually in trouble, Troublemaker. We were literally just talking about it, but Ethan with the Violet Requiem actually able to zone him off just a bit. I actually felt like if he stayed a second longer, that would have been a kill.
Maybe it's just playing a bit more conservatively, but the willingness for him to just go in there, even though the kill isn't technically guaranteed, makes it very difficult for Team LILGUN to really react to it. If they know that he can only go in when the kill is guaranteed, then it's easy to predict, to try and counter with spells and the like. But now that they have no idea if Troublemaker is going to go in to harass or to completely, commit all in to be different.
Ooh, Zexora with the Fracture, as well as the Astral Spear, finding Troublemaker, finally getting some vengeance for game 1.
I'm sorry, was I watching Dude Perfect there for a second? Because that was literally set up beautifully. Forbid just lays down the ult, has the skill shot ready, and Zexora just has the easy job of pressing buttons and walking away and looking cool.
It's that vision advantage that they're able to get right there. So for Umbrella, we're having this Hilda. They should really use it to try and scout also instead of just like standing around, because he's not really invading. And now he's just waiting in the bushes a bit more passively. I think he can move forward to some of the bushes that are more neutral in the center of the river to try and get that advantage, because he's not making use of the sustain or movement speed of this Hilda pick.
Yeah, again, not finding any value whatsoever. And worse, yeah, I think that Fangor in these positions, it's a little tough for him, right? Because not only is it difficult to actually get and close the distance against Zexora, but at the very least, he also has to worry about getting blasted by 4-bit every once in a while.
That's a lot of damage as well. Now with a half HP, gonna try and regen back up, but look at Ethan, keep your eyes on this man.
Aizen very far forward. Astral Echo gonna spot things out. Already Demonic Force used up. That's gonna be Violent Requiem in the backline. Turtle secured by Team LILGUN, and they're gonna grab Troublemaker and Marl on top of it. LILGUN rushing him down. A beautiful flicker by Ethan over the wall to get out of the clutches of Fangor and Castle as well.
Everything is falling in place for LILGUN. A stark contrast to game number 1. Now they're the ones with the aggression, with the superior burst, and the superior chase potential, with the slows and mobility that they have. Umbrella Squad were just not ready right there. Getting Troublemaker deleted just shows that he was so dominant in game number 1 that in game number 2 right here, he hasn't done anything, but Team LILGUN is like, no, get out of here.
I think, at least for Team LILGUN, they want to fight together, and I think this is a draft that definitely is more beneficial when you are scouting for that information. And I think that right now, 4-bit is doing a lot of work for the team to help them get to that decision faster.
The Astral Echo, very powerful utility tool here for providing information that every team needs here and making... Oh, Castle in trouble. He gets a 3-man penalty zone, but he's still stuck by himself. Here comes Marl, though, coming in with the Phantom Steed, dropping Ethan real low. Aizen being an absolute nuisance with the Demonic Force. The snipe, unfortunately, going to miss from Bebex, as well as the Spatial Migration. Umbrella Squad, beautiful timings here. As Troublemaker comes in, he has his eyes on the goal lane, but Bebex, with the outplay, walking in the opposite direction, not allowing him to make full advantage of his ultimate. Troublemaker still playing this risky. He sees Ethan, he wants him, but he jumps away, and Aizen flickers forward to get the punish.
That was wild. What happened right there?
Honestly, that was kind of disgusting. He knew that he could outplay that, and he absolutely nailed it, really abusing the game mechanics here.
Troublemaker just caught off position. Now Fangor coming in 1v2. Won't be able to get anything done though. Umbrella Squad, they just seem bewildered right here with the decisiveness of Team LILGUN. At every point, they're the ones making the play happen, and they haven't even used the combo, right? The Astral Echo into a multiple man spatial migration from Ethan, or even the Renner's Apathy for that double long range snipe.
You're right. The gold laners haven't been too involved in a lot of these fights, have they? I mean, for the most part, maybe after like one item, we were expecting to see Bebex actually start joining him. But in the meantime, while Team LILGUN is going to be taking this turtle pretty much for free, Umbrella Squad, full advantage, open up the map on top side just in case that there is a potential fight, and they'll go in and quickly break down the tier 2, maybe tier 1, maybe even get a tier 2.
Just trading for objectives right here. Black March might not get it, man, and in the bottom side, already a trade attempted from LILGUNs, but you gotta be careful, man. Castle cannot overstep right here. He's not as disposable as the Arlott was in the previous game.
With Spatial Migration gonna find the Turisla right into the Bandit's Rage, and Castle is gone. The castle walls have fallen to the hands of LILGUN.
And that's also a tier 2. Oh, no! He breaks it just in time. 1% of that tower's HP left. In the meantime, if you look on the top side, at least for the Wanwan, I'm curious to see how far along her item that she is. I mean, Blackmar, she has an EXP lead over Bebex. Let's see. Let's see how this is going to play out.
Aizen being quite a nuisance here. He's actually reached the point where he's tanky enough to just walk up against Umbrella Squad and provide information as a Phoveus. Now a lot of attention being diverted to the top lane, pressuring Black March and stealing away the orange buff.
I find it peculiar that the main man sent to the front lines to really tank a lot of damage is Castle. You would think that with the penalty zone, he is going to be the counter-engage tool, and they can send Fangor out there instead. But that is not what's happening, man. Fangor has been relatively passive. Look at where he's standing right here, behind a lot of his teammates.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult for him because the early game has been pretty much passed as we transition into mid towards late, and Fangor is just struggling.
Oh! Ito with the flicker spatial migration! I have never seen that before! Picks off Castle once again.
LILGUN will miss it. That is the speed at which LILGUN can just make the plays happen. Umbrella Squad are doing a great job trading right here though, so all things considered, this might be the best thing they can do so far. And now it's the waiting game. With the Lord spawning in 8 seconds, who's going to get the setup? The setup advantage, the vision advantage with the Novaria there. It's going to be very difficult for Umbrella Squad to get the surprise situation that they really require to get the backline and come out on top in these fights.
I don't know, because it feels like even if you do want to kind of get into that backline, it's the targets are difficult to get to. That's number one. If we're talking about Umbrella Squad, wait, hold on. Nolan is going to be able to get a push down on that bottom side. Crack a tier 2 open. Mid is already pushed out. LILGUN have macroed this really nicely.
This is beautiful objective control coming in from the Mongolian representatives right here. Tier 2 bot falls easily. I don't think they're aware that Fangor is scouting this out, but it's still not a really big issue here for LILGUN. He will get started onto Bebex. Spatial migration, gonna find the hill. The Troublemaker looking for the dive, but he won't be able to connect it. Vengeance Pop won't save him. Fracture destroys him, and Black March is now being chased down, but he gets the crossbow of Tang. Not enough damage yet though, so Zexora gets the double kill. Spatial migration dodges the penalty zone. Bebex actually flickers forward onto Fangor. Gets punished for it. Astral Spear won't finish him off. Aizen being chased down by Marl in the backline. A crazy, messy fight. But Umbrella Squad now actually winning out inconsistent damage. So LILGUN will make a hasty retreat.
Oh boy. Honestly, it wasn't looking good for Umbrella Squad for a second there, but Team LILGUN took a majority, took a good chunk of punishment after that, right? I mean, they got some pretty big spells from some big players from the side of Team LILGUN.
The Troublemaker just got immediately nuked in the beginning of that fight though, and now Zexora.
Zexora, he's looking for Marl. He gets it. Mega kill for the Nolan as he just makes out like a bandit.
That was disgusting, man. That's a lot of damage. And now the Lord, can it go to the hands of LILGUN? No contest available for Umbrella Squad, despite that win. But you can see that in a messy fight, they have a chance here. There are ways for them to really come out on top in the fight. It all comes down to the execution right now.
Let's see how much execution they're going to get, because right now Marl, he's 2 levels below Zora as of yet. Let's look at the items. Perfect timing here. Hunter Strike, Brute Force Breastplate into Malefic Roar in comparison to BOD Malefic Roar into Hunter Strike. So a lot more damage output specifically from Zora at any HP.
Well, it's also a fighter in the hands of Marl, right? So it doesn't really perform the same way. But look at this, Fangor going against Zexora.
Yeah, he's diving real deep onto the Nolan, forcing out the dashes, but he's able to escape quite easily. In the meantime, Lord crashing up top lane. 2-man penalty zone onto Ethan and Bebex, and Marl is coming in to jump on the opportunity. Crossbow of Tang, follow up. Bebex is gone. Ethan will follow in quick succession. Umbrella Squad punishes Team LILGUN.
Beautiful combination here, one after the other, just layering it so nicely. Oh, the first chain pull right into Barbiel, pulling them in no time to react.
That backline is just so vulnerable right now. It's almost like the previous game, kind of, right? The marksman just not really respecting the damage potential so far. For now, man, a 4K gold lead, but Umbrella Squad seems to really be on the board. And more importantly, they seem to have just found a winning solution right here. Go for a penalty zone and have Marl cut in the back line. With them being so pulled back towards their base, that's the natural conclusion. But if they can create the same scenario to try and capture and pinch LILGUN, this could be the way they can try and get a dub.
Ooh, nice checking of the bushes here. Troublemaker still gonna play fairly aggressively, but he knows that he's in a pretty safe position. Right now, we are in a stage of the game where the game state is very fragile, and being able to find the position you need is going to change the scales heavily.
It's a wind talker completed for the 1-1, so more attack speed, more mobility, more importantly, less damage coming in from the Phobias. So we'll have to see. On top of that, Troublemaker just completed a concentrated energy earlier, so he has a bit more sustain. Even though he gets chunked out, he can regen in the jungle. He can stay a bit tankier in the fight with that Vengeance too. So I think Team LILGUN are the ones who have to be a bit more careful, and they might have to ration some of their card control to ensure that the backline does not get rushed at yet again.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting, right? Because we were talking about Fangor earlier, and he was like, yeah, he's not really doing much. He's kind of just sitting around. He's kind of waiting, hiding behind teammates even sometimes. And then you come back to LILGUN, and you realize that, yes, the vision is a little bit more important in these cases rather than just pure harassment. You need to give that opening, that hole. You can't create it yourself, but you can inform people who can get in those spots.
Fangor's gonna get spotted out, walks into the wrong neighborhood, and Ethan sets up the ambush. Now Castle gonna be targeted by Zexora and Aizen. Popped down by the Fracture. Unstoppable streak for Zexora. The Lord is now within sight. Troublemaker gonna be getting his electrifying beats off of... Oh, nice flicker from Bebex in the opposite direction. Troublemaker now in a lot of trouble. Beautiful spatial migration. Gets the knockup, gets the kill. Team LILGUN now have the total numerical superiority, and the Lord is theirs.
What is going on right there, man? I mean, the waves are set up to push for Umbrella Squad, but Fangor just comes in a bit too ahead of the rest of the pack. He gets deleted, and there was no damage traded back for it. If everyone on his team was behind him right there, when they poured in so many spells towards the Hilda, the Roamer, then the rest of the team can really punish afterwards, but that is not how Umbrella Squad played that game out.
Yeah, a little unfortunate indeed, but now we come back to the present. We see that the Lord is already starting to press in towards lane with Lord Empowered Minions. Team LILGUN setting this up nice to make sure that they have a subsequent crashing of all the waves. They got top and mid at the same time and delay on the bottom side.
That is honestly so many minions. They already found Troublemaker. The spatial migration hitting his target every time. Fangor trying to dive onto Zexora, but he's dropping real low himself with the Dog Force. Penalty zone onto 3 members. Will this be enough? No, Bebex already has the double kill, and Marl can do nothing but run in. Even the crossbow of Tang isn't going to be enough with the Wind of Nature already popped down by Bebex and Black March. He tries to dash away. He will just barely make it back to base, but he and Castle are the only survivors. Named that one. Castle is picked off for Bid with the killing spree, and the crystal is wide open. We are going to game number 3.
Woo! Game of 3 coming in for these boys. LILGUN bounce back after a devastating game number 1. It looks like they've kind of gotten their acts back together.
The Mongolians, man, strike back with a vengeance, but it wasn't a clean game at all, man. At any moment, it can really swing in one direction, in either direction. And for LILGUN and Umbrella Squad, they gotta be feeling the pressure right here. It's back to a best of 1, and so far, it's almost a bit coin flippy how they take the fights, right? It's almost like something happens and they both scramble towards it, and they just, risk it to see who actually comes out on top.
Do you agree with that stuff? Do you feel like that this is something that LILGUN is proactively doing, going into unknown situations and then fighting in comparison to really taking their time to calculate it?
That's the thing. LILGUN has a fairly aggressive attitude, and the way I would have described this team going in is if they want to do something, they're going to do it, even if it may cost more than you think, and they'll usually succeed. And in this case, having a lineup here that allows for them to go for these aggressive plays, not to mention the vision provided by the Novaria, and this feels a lot more natural to what I expected from the team.
Okay, so that begs the question of adaptation for the upcoming. We got a little bit of a taste from either side, but I think this is where it's really going to start changing things up once we get into game number 3. I'm going to assume that Umbrella Squad takes blue side like they did in game number 1, but that's just an assumption.
It's possible, and I don't feel like right now, considering the fact that both teams seem to be a bit spontaneous, right? They seem to be kind of scrambling into fights instead of setting it up properly with waves, with vision. I feel like crowd control and damage output becomes so important right here. With more crowd control, you can dictate the pace even more. With more damage output, you can stay in the fight longer as well. And if you don't have enough damage output, you run out mid-fight. And if you use it on the wrong target, it's also catastrophic. So I think for both teams, it's going to really center around that.
interesting. I mean, overall, with the way that the game has been played thus far, let's have a look at our MVP of this game. Let's check out the back rooms to show you the live reaction because, oh my goodness, 4-Bit came out big time in this game for the LILGUNs here. Give your hands up for the man himself, all the way from Mongolia. Let's have a look at his stats.
All right, 4-Bit MVP of game number 2, and we already highlighted this, the value of vision provided by that Astral Echo for a team that wants to set up ambushes is huge. Not to mention the increased hitboxes that allow for Ethan to get those spatial migrations even more easily is just the cherry on top.
Not to mention the slow, right? People don't really consider it because it's so,
True.
you know, so...
It's so minuscule half the time. It's
Exactly.
like, oh yeah, it's here.
Even without the Ice Queen's wand right here, that small bit of slow, it's also what allows, let's say, the Phobias to just get that much more damage in, as well as the Nolan, right? It seems like the whole team has a bit more slow-focused card control instead of just hard knockups and the like. So, I feel like it's definitely well deserved, and considering how difficult it is to dive in the backline with a fighter instead of an assassin, I think he performed really, really well.
Well, he played real good, and let's have a look at the highlights brought to you by Grab Unlimited here, because I think with a lot of the situations that were going around, right, we were expecting Zixora to get harassed all game, like from the beginning. As soon if he misses a single purple buff, that's when he's going to start falling off really, really quick. But the way that we've seen Umbrella Squad actually kind of maneuver around the situation was interesting in the earlier stages, but you can instantly see the fall off once you give someone like Nolan this amount of space.
And I feel like for Umbrella Squad, they're really susceptible to getting ambushed right here. Because again and again, it seems like when LILGUN just lies in wait for someone to just walk in, they get that very favorable fight. But if they both just go in reflexively, it seems like that's where Umbrella Squad really have the advantage. So I think that's an approach that both teams can really try and fix and change depending on the situation.
Okay. If that's the case, maybe this could be a potential sign that it's time for the Umbrella Squad to show us how to team fight once again. Go for a 5v5 style comp.
The thing is, that's not really the style of Umbrella Squad going into this this series, right? One thing that we have to note is that these are both fairly aggressive teams that are willing to trade bodies in fights. But the difference they approach fights is very evident, where Team LILGUN is usually together, and Umbrella Squad usually enters the fray quite individually. It works out when they have lots of disengage tools, but you have to note, the Roamer is actually one of the more passive players in the team. And we could see the effects of that.
Interesting. So it could have been just the Hilda as a pick overall rather than going for something a little bit more aggressive. Who's to say, right? Maybe the numbers.
I mean, towards the end earlier, I think Fangor was getting more value even. It's kind of funny, we see Hilda as an early game focused hero, but in the late game, that's where he really showed that he's able to just push away Zixora or Bebex if they would kind of walk up without really checking the bushes. I feel like that kind of impact is required even earlier on because the lack of scouting right here is, I think, what is really holding back Umbrella Squad. They had the damage, they had the item spikes as well with the back and forth tempo of that game, but they just weren't able to get there often enough. So if they can find a way to get more mobility, more scouting, I feel like that is something they can definitely use. Looking at the post-game stats, though, it's still a 5k gold difference. And when it comes to objectives, there's only one picked up by Umbrella Squad. So I think when it comes to the slower set up team fights, I think LILGUN definitely has a bit of an edge. And with more AoE in this composition as well compared to Umbrella Squad, 5v5 is something that they don't really want to take.
I think it's difficult, right? Because Troublemaker was getting taken out, like, what, I would say 3 out of 5 times before the fight even begins, right? Or maybe he's just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, instantly gets jumped on by Ethan, or it doesn't necessarily have to be Ethan, just a combination of 4-Bit and Zixora. Again, it's one of those things where we're hoping that Fangor is going to be that guy to take the brunt of the damage rather than a significant laner.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that very often, and even when Fangor was tanking that damage, he was basically just getting picked off by himself while trying to secure vision for the team. What Umbrella Squad is going to need to work on here is their overall team coordination, because now that LILGUN did have some pickoff in the form of the Guinevere and the Nolan combination, you see how much it messed up their team fighting. Not to mention the Phobias pick being very decisive. You normally wouldn't reveal that so quickly, even with the joy and so on, but LILGUN, they just went for it.
Don't forget the Novario as well that can really follow up on those pickoffs from really, really far away. So he is not really put in a vulnerable spot to be taken advantage of by the fighters, by the Leomord, for instance, or the Joy, but still able to actually get so much value, so much presence in this game from far away. Yeah, the cards right here, the carry is actually Bebex with a 49k goal, 49k damage dealt here. So, I mean, damage is definitely still there.
He definitely was still there, but unfortunately just... It's difficult, right? Let's look at the team fight participation. Maybe that tells us a different story, because Troublemaker, 17% expected, he died a majority of the time. That's totally fine. But then Black March, right? I was waiting for the effect to happen when this 1-1 actually gets relevant enough to take on